Good evening, Peppa Pig fans. I hope you're all very well tonight. Let's see who's on the stream. We have Killer. Great to see you, Killer. Thanks for moderating once again. We have Gene T. Great to see you. Raven 1983 Witch. Great to have you on. Audrey. Great to have you on too. Hope you're well. The Londoner. Great to see you. Boris Buffoon loves jumping in muddy potholes. Freddie. Great to see you. Chatty Rat. Great to have you on too. Enzo the God. Great to see you once again. Catherine. Great to have you on. Hope you're well tonight. We also have Roseanne. Great to see you. Kathy Doyle, great to have you on too. Katrina, great to see you. Hope you're well. Kendo, great to have you on. Johnny, great to see you. We also have Duke, great to have you on. Boris is something. Toby, great to see you. Jan, I think it is. Great to see you. Chubby Moth, great to have you on. The Star Tux, great to see you. Johnny, great to see you. Inconsequential, oink oink. Cluggy, great to see you also. We also have Joachim, great to see you. We also have Gene T, great to have you on, Gene T. Hope you're fine tonight. John O'Sullivan, great to see you. Fat Knock Fiction, great to see you on. Hope you're well tonight as well. Well, not tonight where you are, but early afternoon or morning maybe where you are. Wayne, great to see you. We also have Regan Elite. Great to have you on, Regan Elite. Hope you're fine as well. Young Ralph, great to see you. And Riel, great to have you on. Hope you're fine tonight as well. Chromosos 33. Great to see you. And so many more. So I can't say hello to everyone. CJM, I see there. Number 3, great to have you on. And so many more. Up to 153 viewers. Remember, guys, to smash the like button as you pop on. Martha, great to see you. Fanatica 2. Rumian 33, great to see you. And hope everyone is very well tonight. So, what the hell was happening with Boris Johnson at the CBI? Look, you've probably seen the video that I uploaded. I said, I think this is a cynical move by Boris Johnson. Once again, attempting to distract the public, either distract the public from the vote that was taking place later on in Parliament, where, well, we'll get into that later on, where the government increased the cap so that the poorer would be more likely to end up losing their homes. So poorer homeowners would end up losing their homes, while the richer would be protected once again. Hardly a surprise there. Forgive me. It's the Londoner, yes. Mega Hairy Bum, great to see you. Let me see. Okay, sorry about that. Let me see. 100% dead cat, NHS vote corruption thing. Yes, a distraction. And I actually thought it was a distraction, to distract the public from Keir Starmer's speech, which didn't get a lot of traction, unfortunately for him, because it was normal. It was a normal speech. There were some interesting things in it, some not so interesting things in it, but it was a speech for the CBI, not a speech to distract the public. Anyway, so it says here, Boris Johnson is not unwell and has not lost his grip, says number 10. So many people are thinking, okay, there's something wrong with Boris Johnson. No, I don't think there's anything wrong with Boris Johnson. I think he's playing the fool once again. Because if there was something wrong with him, then he should leave. He should resign. If he's not up to the job, then he should resign. I actually really struggle to understand why Boris Johnson is Prime Minister. Not why was he elected, but why is he continuing to do this job? He obviously doesn't like the job. He doesn't like the hard work. He likes, debating in Parliament. He likes the attention. But I think he's not up for the job, and he understands that he's not up for the job. And to go through Brexit and to go through the pandemic, I really, really don't understand why he's sticking with it. Although he's on holiday almost every other week. It says here, Downing Street spokesperson responds to questions about Prime Minister's health after a rambling speech to CBI on Monday. Boris Johnson is physically well and has a full grasp of the prime ministerialship. Downing Street has said following his rambling speech to business leaders on Monday, in which he lost his place for about 20 seconds. People who watched the speech gave to the Confederation of British Industry conference were impressed with his spokesperson argued, adding that the cabinet ministers could speak freely if they had any concerns. Of course, they can't speak freely. They're never going to criticize Boris Johnson. The only people who, in regards to this, who criticize Boris Johnson is the opposition. But when it comes to other things, the only people who would criticize him would be backbenchers, people who are not in a position of power. So the only criticism you'll receive as Prime Minister in the Conservative Party is from a few backbenchers and the opposition. But very seldom your own ministers will criticize you, or senior members of the party, especially not in public anyway. The speech at the Portentine, which included a vocal impression of a revving car engine and a section on the lessons for capitalism and officialdom, presented by the children's cartoon character Peppa Pig, prompted worries from a number of Tory MPs. Asked if Johnson has a grip, his spokesperson replied, "Of course." I'd point to the CBI themselves, who had then asked about the speech. Said leaders would be heartened to hear the Prime Minister talk passionately about the role of the private sector working in partnership with government to achieve our shared ambition of a high-skilled, high-investment economy. It would be wrong to read too much into the section of the speech where the Prime Minister paused for long periods and shuffled the pages of his speech, muttering, "Forgive me," 3 times. It's the only time when Boris Johnson has actually asked for forgiveness, isn't it? The Prime Minister briefly lost his place in the speech, the spokesperson said. He's given hundreds of speeches. I don't think it's unusual for people on rare occasions to lose their place in space. Yes, look, I think this was very much the minor issue of the whole lot. This speech about Peppa Pig was insane. That was, and him making these noises was really weird. But him losing his place with the papers, look, that can happen to anyone. So I didn't think that was so serious. It wasn't something to be concerned about. There was a funny tweet where it was a picture of Rishi Sunak removing the numbers of the pages. That was funny. Tonthon, thanks so much for that super chat. You're number 1. Yeah, you're number 1 too. Thank you very much for that. Very kind. We have 237 viewers and only 87 likes. Guys, smash that like button. You know what to do. It goes on to say Johnson had appeared to be struggling with a cold last week, but his spokesperson insisted that he was in good health, saying the Prime Minister is well. He's focused on delivering for the public, not delivering for himself. The spokesperson declined to comment on a BBC report that an unnamed senior Downing Street source said that there was a lot of concern within the building about the Prime Minister and a feeling that ministers should demand changes. I've seen a number of anonymous source quotes, and I'm not, as you know, going to respond to anonymous sources, the spokesman said. However, he rejected the idea that the ministers felt unable to tell Johnson if they felt he was on the wrong course. Of course, they can't go against the Prime Minister because they would be out of a job. They'd be reshuffled. And they'd be out the door. Johnson surrounds himself with idiots. He surrounds himself with people who agree with him. Yes, men and yes, women. He's not going to surround himself with threats, with the exception of Rishi Sunak. Now, I would love to know why he chose Rishi Sunak. Maybe because he's a Brexiteer and he's quite popular. But I think it was a big mistake putting Rishi Sunak in charge of the Chancellery, of the Chancellor of the Exchequer, because it's the next job down from the Prime Minister. And I think Rishi Sunak is planning to make a move at some stage. DC, thanks so much for that super chat. After Scottish independence, will it ever be possible to unseat the Tories in England? Without the SNP, etc., it seems that the Tories will rule forever. That's a concern. So if Scotland becomes independent, the number of MPs available to the number of MPs will drop, and the Conservative Party have a grip on England. So you would need massive change. But the solution to that, and the Labour Party should begin supporting it, is proportional representation. So PR would make it more difficult for the Conservatives, or almost impossible for the Conservatives to win a majority. You would see the Green Party picking up many more seats. You would see other smaller parties picking up more seats. And you would see the two main parties like Labour and the Conservatives fracturing. I think that's what would happen under PR, because it's very difficult to hold these different factions together. And if these different factions see that there's a possibility that we can win power or we can win seats on our own, then they're going to fracture into different groups. And that would be the death nail to the Conservative Party. You would have some new Conservative Party, smaller Conservative Party, but it would split up into different groups, the original one. So that's the way forward. The Labour Party need to support proportional representation, because with Scotland gone, yes, as you say, it would be pretty much Tory rule forever. Although, you would need massive swings. There could be a massive swing away from the Tories towards the Lib Dems and the Labour Party. That could thwart it. But I think in the long term, they need to bring in proportional representation. Thanks so much for that super chat, DC. It's a concern I share as well. If Diane Abbott had lost her place in a speech or went on a rant about Peppa Pig, she'd be crucified. Boris Johnson, on the other hand, the Teflon Tory. Yeah, I agree 100%. If that had been... There is a channel on YouTube. It's a pro-Tory, pro-Brexit channel. I don't remember the name, but they upload videos from time to time. I think it used to be called The Parliamentarian, was one of them, and then there was another one I don't remember. And they'd upload videos of, a Labour MP or a member of the SNP criticising the government, and they called them all sorts of names under the sun just for criticising the government in Parliament. Or if Priti Patel told them to shut up or something like that, it would be, the sort of expressions you see in the Express, her slapping them down or something like that. But if Diane Abbott had said something like Boris Johnson had said, or had lost her place, couldn't find her papers, it would be a viral video, and the Tories and their supporters would be calling for her to resign. They're saying how ridiculous she looks, and she should be nowhere near Parliament. For me, the bigger problem was not that he lost his papers. I think the bigger problem for me is that he's using these types of tactics in order to distract the public. It's cynical. Thanks so much for that, Gareth. Wayne, thanks so much for that super chat. A very belated thank you, Marks. Thank you very much to you too. Very kind of you. Hope you're well tonight. So, oh my God. Under Tony Blair, Labour won a majority of 178. Jeez. Take 60 away and they still have a massive majority. It's rubbish that they can't win without Scotland votes. Although I do think that the borders the boundaries have changed since then. But yes, the Labour Party need to get their finger out if they want to win back seats. And it's not, I don't think it's impossible for them to do that. At the moment, it's probably difficult for them, extremely difficult, but I don't see them winning a majority on their own in the short term. Elisa Sunny, thank you so much for that. GG, yay. Thank you. Very kind of you. It's very kind for that super chat. Hope you're well tonight. What the F? 291 viewing and only 131 likes. Smash that like button, guys. You know what to do. So let's move on to Brexit, of course. We can't get away from Brexit. Try as you might. When Boris Johnson said he got Brexit done, he was only telling lies. French fishers plan to block freight to UK in Brexit license dispute. This is not good. So this is from today. It says French fishers are set to take action within days, including blocking roads and sea freight bound for the UK through Calais and other Channel ports as a months-long dispute over licenses to operate in British waters intensifies. Why don't the British fishermen and farmers block roads to London as a protest against Brexit? They're suffering the consequences of Brexit and they won't do anything about it. It's something I really don't understand. I would love to meet with these fishermen, the ones who voted for Brexit and are suffering the consequences, and ask them, why don't you protest against Boris Johnson? Why don't you protest outside one of Nigel Farage's mansions or Jacob Rees-Mogg's mansions? Why don't you do that? Why are you afraid to do it? Are you ashamed to do it? Do you not think it will have any effect? At least vent some anger. But I really don't understand why they don't. DC, thanks so much for that super chat. Do you think the result of the by-election in Old Boxley and Sidcup, currently Tories next week, will give us an indication of the mood of the public? Thanks so much for that, DC. I haven't looked into that constituency. I'll have a look into it after. And I may actually do a video on it. That's very interesting. Because it'd be interesting to see what how that seat went, what sort of majority the Tories have, and when was the last time it was held by either the Labour Party or the Lib Dems or whatever non-Tory held it the last time. Because if the majority is very slim, there's a good chance that it could flip to either the Lib Dems or the Labour Party. But I have to look into that constituency. But I'll definitely have a look into that and may even do a video on it because it sounds interesting. Because a lot of these by-elections are a good indicator of how the public feel. Now, of course, by-elections depend on many factors. If there are independents, the topics of discussion, not just on the general, in general in the country, but local issues as well. There could be a new hospital that was planned. It's been cancelled. That would be a major issue. It could be, it depends on whether this town voted for Brexit, this constituency voted for Brexit or not. So there's a few things to check before making a decision on whether there's a possibility they could flip, the Labour Party or the Lib Dems could flip it. If they do, then it could be an indicator to what's down the road. And I like watching these by-elections because they're generally quite interesting, more interesting than usual. By-elections are normally very they're boring and they're not followed much by the media or by the electorate, but I think in this day and age they're definitely something to watch. It'll be good, Max. Sovereignty? No. Sounds like the Tories have a lot in common with the GOP. Yes, Audrey, they do. And they're using these wage issues, they're using these culture war as well in an attempt to convince the public that they should vote for them, in the sense that we saw recently the comments about statues and about British history and Churchill and all of these issues being brought up. Because we care about maintaining a particular way of thinking within the country. We need to conserve the image of Churchill, his legacy, But it's about whitewashing history. It's about revisionism in a sense, in order to convince the public that they are the party, they are the patriotic party, while the Labour Party are the traitors. So it goes on to say here, French media reported on Tuesday that with talks between the two governments and the European Commission over post-Brexit fishing rights seemingly deadlocked, angry fishers in northern France could decide on Thursday what steps to take. France says the UK has unjustly denied permits to over 150 French boats, while Britain insists that it is entitled to demand whatever evidence it chooses to show that French vessels have a track record of operating in UK coastal waters. Yeah, so the issue here is that the British government have said that if you want to continue to operate in these waters, you have to prove that you have fished there before for a period of time. And it's difficult to follow the story because you don't know who's in the right here. Are some of the French fishermen trying to fish in areas that maybe they don't have evidence of, or maybe they fished in those waters but they didn't have the right permits, or they didn't have any permits? I don't know. Or is the British government attempting to extract some sort of concessions, using this as some sort of bargaining chip? It's hard to know. Olivier Leprete, the president of the organization that represents fishers' interests in northern France, said crews from boats operating along the Atlantic coast in the Channel and the North Sea from Brest to Dunkirk would take part. There would be no wholesale blockade of French ports, Leprete told the meeting of fishers in Boron-sur-Mer. We are aiming more to target exports because we don't want to harm the French economy, he said. We want to affect the UK economy. We will do this properly and we will do it. Le Pretet added, the poor British are already lacking some products since Brexit, and unfortunately they're about to be lacking a few more. Britain wants access to the European market. They should give us the licenses. We've been waiting 11 months. Once again, I don't know who's in the right here. I would like if anyone here is from France. I know some people who are French, but I'm not sure if they're from France. If somebody could get me in contact with some of these French fishermen to have a chat with them, it'd be great to understand their point of view. What's the problem here? Why do they believe these licenses are being held up? He said the aim of the action would be to insist that the European Commission takes its responsibility seriously and ensures that the Brexit deal is respected, and also to warn Boris Johnson and his fishers that his fishers have access to the EU market, so they should have access to the British waters. Fishers in Boulogne-sur-Mer told the Le Vox du Nord, a newspaper, that the final details of the action would be worked out on Thursday, with the campaign due to start on Friday or possibly Monday. All cross-channel traffic and all freight to the UK will be blocked, said one fisher. This is not good, okay? Especially right up before Christmas. We're getting close to December. It's not good for these things to happen. So I'm pretty sure what's going to happen instead is at the 11th hour, the British government will issue another few licenses to keep these fishermen happy. Because if the French fishermen block the port, very little will get through. Maybe nothing will get through. And it's going to be extremely damaging because people are going to go to the supermarkets to buy things, and the supermarket shelves will be even more empty. And this is going to put pressure on the government. You would think. Until now, people are sort of grimming and bearing it. They're not protesting. They're not complaining to an extent that would put pressure on the government. So maybe people will go to the supermarkets and find nothing and go, oh, well, there's nothing. Okay. Dirty Dozen, so underestimated. I got all my presents sorted out a month ago. Well done, Monkeytron. Certainly not giving fish as a Christmas present. Boycott GP into the poorhouse. Do the French fishing industry have a union or lobbyists? The French fishing industry have a huge amount of sway politically. I don't know if they have a huge amount of power, if they have a huge amount of money behind them, but they definitely, along with the farmers, have a huge amount of sway over members of the French Assembly. So politicians in France don't like going against the farmers or the fishermen. Just put it that way. That's a risk, Max. Yeah, they're so compliant. Really, I'm. You would think that when people saw empty supermarket shelves, they would complain, or at least grumble. But people are just, going along as if it was normal. The government, of course, are blaming the pandemic. But at what stage will even Brexiteers turn around and say, yeah, we can't continue to blame the pandemic? Happy British fish. Kahalogy, yes. There's inflation almost everywhere now. Maybe a bit more in Britain, but it's difficult to assess how much. Hedgehog Legs, great to see you on the stream. Hope you're well tonight. Okay, let's move on. So this was an interesting post-Brexit scheme. So an interesting story here. Post-Brexit scheme to lure Nobel winners to UK fails to attract single applicant. So a program to allow those with prestigious global prizes to get fast-tracked visas dismissed as elitist and a joke. So of course, the way that when freedom of movement ended, it became more difficult for universities, institutes to bring people in from abroad to work to do research, for example, or to work at universities or institutes. And well, the UK government said, the Brexiteer government, I should say, said, well, don't worry, we're going to have our own system. We're going to we're going to only allow in the best. And obviously it's pretty much backfired. So post-Brexit scheme to draw the world's most celebrated academics and other leading figures to the UK has failed to attract a single applicant in the 6 months since it opened, it has been reported. How is this not front page news? This is Brexit in a nutshell here. The visa route open to Nobel laureates and other prestigious global prize winners in the field of science, engineering, humanities and medicine, among others, was described as a joke by experts after ministers admitted it failed to garner any interest. Even one person. Imagine if you had been that one, you'd probably go, hey, where's everyone else? You arrive at the auditorium where Boris Johnson is going to welcome all of these new experts, these new Nobel laureates, and you're the only one there. You're like, where's everyone else? Oh, here comes Boris Johnson talking about Peppa Pig or something. Chances that the single Nobel or Turing laureate would move to the UK to work are zero for the next decade or so. Nobel Prize winner André Geim told New Scientist magazine, which first reported the news. The University of Manchester academic, who was awarded the Nobel Prize for Physics in 2010, this is for his work on graphene. This is so sad. This is really sad because Britain used to be great. Brexiteers said Brexit is going to make Britain great again. Britain used to be great. And I've said before how I believe the highest point was 2012, the Olympics in 2012, where people felt proud to be British, but it was not this xenophobic, racist, little England pride. It was, wow, we're doing something wonderful on the world stage. We're welcoming people from all over the world. We're an open, inclusive society. And I think, even people in Scotland were like saying, yes, I feel proud of what we have achieved as a country, as a United Kingdom. Of course, it went downhill after that, especially when it came to Brexit. I'm not saying, a lot of Scottish people did not think that, but I think there was a real true pride in the UK at the time, and it just it's become so sad at the moment. Brexit is just so bloody depressing because how things used to be great, and anyway. The University of Manchester academic who was awarded a Nobel Prize for Physics in 2010 for his work on graphene added, "The scheme itself is a joke. It cannot be discussed seriously. The government thinks if you pump up UK science with a verbal diarrhea of optimism, it can somehow become a self-fulfilling prophecy. As part of the scheme announced in May, the winners of some of the most prestigious global prizes were offered a fast track to the Global Talent Visa, allowing them to live and work in the UK without having to fulfill any criteria. For scientists, the program covered Nobel Prizes in physics, chemistry, and medicine, and in the Fusen International Prize, while for mathematics, just the Fields Medal were listed. Fields Medals were listed. Fields Medal were listed. Those from computing, engineering, and social science had a handful of eligible prizes, while a Brit Award was also on the list. The Home Office said at the time of the announcement that people on the Global Talent Visa route had to apply to one of the 6 endorsing bodies, whereas the prestigious award route would allow applicants who hold a qualifying prize to fast-track the endorsement application and instead make a single visa application. The Home Secretary Priti Patel hailed it as a way of allowing the best and the brightest to come to the UK. She said, "These important changes will give them the freedom to come and work in our world-leading arts, science, music, and film industries as we build back better." You don't have any workers to build back better. There's a shortage here as well. This is exactly what our new points-based immigration system was designed to. This is what it was designed for. So it was designed to fail, attracting the best and brightest based on the skills and talent they have, not where they come from. But 6 months later, New Scientist has reported, citing a government response to its Freedom of Information Act. They had to make a Freedom of Information Act because if you asked the government, they wouldn't comment. So only through a Freedom of Information Act were they able to get this information. Not one person working in science, engineering, or the humanities or medicine has applied. It's not that they didn't get through, then it'd be some sort of mess up. No, nobody applied. This is the scientific community saying, we don't want to be part of Brexit Britain. We don't want to be part of the European North Korea, the hermit nation, the racist nation. I'm not saying that Britain is racist. I'm saying that this is what these people are looking at. They say they want to be part of a country where, we used to be welcome, but now we're told to get back to our own country. Because you imagine some of these scientists would arrive in the UK, they'd be on the tram or on the underground or whatever, and some little England or some Brexiteer will be sitting next to them and saying, you should go back to your own country. We voted, 17.4 million of us voted to send you back to your own country. Frankly, having precisely 0 people apply for this elitist scheme doesn't surprise me at all. The magazine quoted Jessica Wade, a leading scientist at the Imperial College London, as saying, UK scientists' access to European funding is uncertain. We're not very attractive to European students as they have to pay international fees. Our pensions have been cut and scientific positions in the UK are both rare and precarious. The Shadow Science Minister, Labour's Chi Onwa, added, it's clear that this is just another gimmick from the government that overspins and underdelivers. It's not surprising that the government has failed so comprehensively to attract scientists from abroad, given their lack of consistent support for scientists here. The Home Office told New Scientist the program makes it easier for those at the pinnacle of their career to come to the UK. It's just one more option under our global talent route. Though we have received thousands of applications since its launch in February 2020, and this continues to rise. So they're lying as well. Thousands of applications. From who? Thousands of applications. Maybe, you could ask some of them to drive heavy goods vehicles, perhaps. Oh my God. Why would they come where their research will be restricted by stupid Brexit red tape regarding sharing information? Good point. Who did the Build Back Better thing first? Biden or the Democrats, or Johnson and the Tories? That's a really interesting question, Aubrey, because I think it was it could have been the Tories and Joe Biden copied it, because Joe Biden has copied stuff before. He has a bit of a reputation for plagiarism. He copied, what was it? I think it was Neil Kinnock back in the 1980s. Told a story about him growing up, in poverty or something like that, or his grandfather working in the mines or something like that. And Joe Biden told exactly the same story. And it was like literally word for word from, I think it was Neil Kinnock. So, it could be a case of Build Back Better is something that Joe Biden copied from the Tories, but I wouldn't put it past Boris Johnson. Science and Etonians don't go well together, yes. You know what they probably did? The problem was they got Edwin Poots. They put Edwin Poots in charge of this. The guy who believes, from the DUP, who believes the Earth is 6 to 10,000 years old. Yeah, Kinnock, some yarn about coal mines. Yes, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was he borrowed from Kinnock, Max. Was it Nobel Prize or Taco Bell? Build Back Better was American first, I believe. I don't remember. It was one of them copied it anyway. Oh my God. So as Brexit is going so swimmingly, of course, some companies are having to rely on foreign workers again. So it says here, UK poultry producer hires 900 overseas staff to avoid Christmas turkey shortage. So I've covered this before in a number of videos where the poultry industry, the farming as well, they can't get the workers they need. Arbiters can't get the workers, and they haven't been able to hire people locally. They've put out requests for people locally, and they can't find anyone. So some of the companies are bringing people in from abroad. Now, I'm not sure how that works with the visa system, but maybe we'll see. So Britain's biggest poultry producer is set to hire 900 temporary staff from overseas under an emergency visa scheme introduced by ministers after concerns about a squeeze on labour leading to turkey shortages at Christmas. Ranjit Singh Boparan, who's known as the Chicken King, okay, because his company produces around a third of all poultry products consumed in the UK, said the first workers would arrive in the next few days as it prepares for the busy festive season. Boparan said, with just a few weeks to go until Christmas, it's very good news to be able to report that here we are in mid-November. This is from last week, and we're well on the way to plugging the job gap for the massive volume increases we get during this time of the year. This means we'll be able to fulfill all of our projected orders for turkeys, and there will be enough turkeys to go around. Everyone should be able to source their Christmas turkey this year, which is great news. Boparan owns East Anglian turkey producer Bernard Matthews and the Two Sisters Group, the Two Sisters Food Group. His 600 farms and 16 factories will employ 18,000 people, are short of about 10% of their workforce, or about 1,800 roles. However, that has been reduced from the shortage of about 15% in the year. The government announced in September that 5,500 poultry workers from overseas will be able to work in the UK ahead of Christmas. The temporary visa system was introduced amid concerns that the new post-Brexit immigration rules combined with the impact of the pandemic had led to record numbers of food manufacturing workers returning to their home countries, leaving poultry processing plants with huge labour shortages. I'll just jump down because obviously what's happened here is, so last month Boparan said the cost of chicken was set to rise more than 10%, adding that food in Britain was currently too cheap. Food is too cheap. So prices need to go up, according to this man, who's a billionaire, or multimillionaire at least. On Wednesday, he said Labour, as a key structural challenge for our sector, is here for 12 months of the year, and that's one that's not going to go away. It doesn't say in this article, unfortunately, how much they're paying, because if people wanted to work in the UK, then they would just apply for the jobs, and the companies would apply for the visas. But if the workers are not coming over, then you need to incentivize them to come over. And unfortunately, the article doesn't say how much of an incentive, because I would imagine if you want these people to come over, you're probably going to pay them a lot more. And this probably is where it's hinted at, where he says that food prices in the UK are too cheap. So Boparan said that, the price of chicken is too low. So they're probably paying their workers more to come over, and then passing the price on to the consumer. So industry is fixing the problem that Brexit created for now. And the cost, of course, is they have to pay higher wages to incentivize people to come over for this short period of time. And, if you're saying to people who are, living in poorer countries, we're going to pay you 2 or 3 times the normal salary, then people will come over if it's just for a short period of time. They say, look, I'll take some time off my regular job. I'll come over to Britain for a few months. I'll work my arse off. I'll earn a lot of money, and then I'll come back. But this is not going to fix the problem in the long term. It fixes the problem in the short term. And probably the government, or the government, I'm sure the government is relying on business to fix these problems. Brexiteers are not interested in fixing problems. They're only interested in creating problems and allowing somebody else to fix it. Boris Johnson, the same. At the beginning of the year, businesses were saying, look, we can't operate. We're not able to export. And what was the response from government? Go and set up an office or a factory or an outlet or a warehouse in the European Union. So that's not a solution to Brexit. Yes, it is. Do that. How is that helping us? That's the way around the problem. Are you going to help us financially? No. We might give you some advice, but that's about it. So that's not fixing the problem. That's finding a way around the problem and forcing businesses to do that. And of course, businesses will pass on the price increases. Let's see, that's 2.5 kilo chicken. That'll be £27,000. Has already done so. Guys, remember to smash the like button. It's not pretty, not poetic. Food is too cheap. Spoken as a true guy that never was hungry or had to eat what he could. Yes, I don't know how rich this man is. He owns 2 large corporations. One of them that provides, was it 30%? 30%, I think it was, of the UK's chickens. So I think he's quite well off, Mr. Boparan. Anyway, guys, let's move on. We're almost at the halfway through the stream. So what I'll do is I'll just I'll bring up our comedy moment. So let's go to our comedy moment, and we'll be back in a few minutes to continue with the serious stuff of Brexit. So let me just bring up this funny video, and then we'll be back in a moment to watch to the serious stuff once again. Hey, why is this so low quality? Okay.
Wow, this is an amazing place I've just discovered. Well, I've lived here all my life, so in terms of discovered, sure, I hear you barking, big dog. And I respect your right to be here. It's just that my right to take it from you is, I suppose, more righteous. It's manifest destiny. Familiar? No, look, don't worry, it's complex. I don't think you'd... Forget it. Oh, that's too bad, because in that case, it's actually my God-given right and duty to murder you and your family in cold blood. Dude, what the I know, it's mental, isn't it? I know, just stop. There must be other options. Let's see. You could change everything about yourself and be more like me. I wouldn't mind you being around so much then. I don't want to be like you. And by the way, are you sick? Should you even be... Jesus, no, don't be a worrywart. It's only a small... pox. Okay, little recap. Don't want to be murdered, fair enough. Don't want to be more like me. Okay. I suppose we could share. I mean, it's not ideal. Obviously, I'll get all the good parts. Living room, kitchen, nice bedrooms. Attic okay for you? Oh, what am I like? Who knows what treasure might be up in the attic? Garden, do ya? Oh, I've a head like a sieve. Sure I can build on in the garden. Is there anywhere for me to be that's acceptable to you? Don't be a drama queen. Would you manage all right in there? Do you know what, buddy? I actually feel a bit bad. Can I, throw you a few quid? I don't want your money. I just want my home back. Free cash, like. No. No wonder you guys are so backward. What a day, huh? I gotta mark it. How about a celebratory dinner? Ostensibly about some fairy tale involving pilgrims, but effectively about me giving thanks to God for legitimizing me making you homeless. Are you on for it? Come on. Don't be a bloody spoil sport. Shall I make a reservation?
Well done, Tag. So, let's move on. We have the story here, of course, about social care, what's happened recently. The Tories acting like Tories, as usual, putting themselves and the rich first at the expense of everyone else. It says here, well, let me jump to the other story first. One moment. First of all, we'll go to the vote that took place yesterday. It says here, ministers defy Tory rebellion to push through social care cap amendment. So there was a little bit of a rebellion against the government by Tory backbenchers. Kudos, I guess. Didn't do very much, but the rebellion was a bit bigger than Boris Johnson had hoped for. He had hoped against, I should say. Ministers have pushed through an amendment to England's social care plans, which is set to disproportionately hit poorer pensioners, despite the sizable rebellion. Now, this is a question, okay? If you have a parent or grandparent who's a pensioner, and they voted for Boris Johnson in 2019, they voted for Brexit in 2016, please ask them, what do you think about what happened on Monday, sorry. What do you think, what is your opinion of what happened? Where you will be more likely kicked out of your home to pay for social care. The change means the council contributions to care fees will not go towards the cap, which means poorer people who get means-tested help would end up paying the same as rich people if they need care for a significant amount of time. So everyone pays the same. Yes, but the richer people will be better off. They won't be affected as much as always. It would save the government £900 million a year by 2027. £900 a year. It's like... How much was wasted on Brexit? But it would leave many poorer homeowners exposed to catastrophic costs, including the need to sell their homes to fund care, analysts have said. Now, this is following comments by Tory MPs where they were saying that, well, a lot of old people are rattling around in empty houses, and that's not right. The vote passed by 272 to 246, a majority of 26. There were 19 rebels for the Conservatives and 70 abstentions, of which only 13 were paired according to Labour. Rebels, including a number of Tories in northern seats, likely to be hit hard by the changes, including 2019 intake MPs Christian Wakeford of Bury South, Holly Munby Croft of Scunthorpe, and Mark Jenkinson of Worthington. Angela Rayner, Labour's deputy leader, said Tory MPs had voted to break their promise that nobody would have to sell their homes to pay for their social care costs, and voted to hammer poorer pensions to protect millionaires in mansions. Once again, David McGuinness, great to see you on the stream. Hope you're well tonight. Once again, ask your elderly parents or elderly grandparents, did you vote for Boris Johnson? Do you understand what's happening now? Rebels in... sorry, I said that already. She tweeted, "This it's an inheritance tax on the North and a con, not a social care plan." Speaking in the comments, the Health Minister, Andrew Argar, this is a guy I've talked about before who worked for a company, and this company won a contract, defended the change, which goes against what was originally proposed by the architect of the cap, Sir Andrew Dilnot. We've always intended that the cap applies to the people what people personally contribute, rather than the combination of their personal contribution and that of the state, he said. Argar said it roars of disapproval from the Labour benches that no one will lose from these reforms compared to the system we have now, and the overwhelming majority will win. Bye-bye NHS, that was started by Blair and will be finished off by the Tories. It's beyond political parties. It's what the ruling classes do, make themselves money. Bank of England generated 445 billion from thin air in 2017. Funny how it's always money to corporate welfare. Every time I hear the word Scunthorpe, I can't help but laugh. It sounds like an insult. You damn Scunthorpe. I've had similar discussions with older relatives. They just say, "Who else is there?" Who else is there? They literally can't see Labour even as an option, as they think all politicians are all the same. All politicians are all the same, so what I'll do is I'll vote for the guy with the funny hair. Like, you can't say all politicians are the same, then don't frigging vote. You know, this is something that really pissed me off back in 2019, where there were Labour, people who used to vote Labour, and they say, "I'm not going to vote for the Labour Party." Okay, then don't vote. No, instead they came out and they voted for the Conservative Party. Like, some of them were like, "Well, who else can I vote? There's no one. Look, I don't like Boris Johnson, but I don't like Jeremy Corbyn either." Then don't vote for either of them. Because by coming out and voting for Boris Johnson, you're voting against you can't say they're all the same and then I'm going to vote for Boris Johnson. This is a stupid mentality. You know, really, if you truly believe that they're all the same, they're all crooks, they all deserve to be in prison, or they all just want to feather their own nests, then don't vote. No, these people say, "I hate all these politicians. Now I'm going to go out and vote for Boris Johnson because he's doing his best," or "he's a man of the people." Oh my God. I hope Labour will beat the Tories. I hope so too. I hope anyone will beat the Tories. No one will lose their homes. They just won't be able to retain them. Then you better talk to the youngsters. And the young people don't want to vote. The young people don't come out and vote because they're disenfranchised. They don't feel that they're listened to. So it's... Don't say that. Always vote. Vote always. In the country, you have to borderline dictatorship because half the population doesn't vote. I understand that point, but if people are going to say they're all the same, and then they go the next step and vote for Boris Johnson, then I would prefer those people not to vote. Because if the people who said that they don't care about politics come out and vote for the likes of Boris Johnson, then it's vote Binface. What was his name? Binface or Captain Binface or General Bin? I don't remember. Vote Kodos. Don't blame me. I voted Kodos. Or Crane. Was it Crane or Kodos? I don't remember. When I don't like the politicians, I just doodle in the ballot to annoy them. Yeah, a spoiled vote is better than a vote for Boris Johnson or the Tories. Count Binface, yes, thanks so much for that. My God. Among the rebels was the former Conservative Chief Whip Mark Harper, who had urged ministers to withdraw the amendment. It potentially disadvantages the less well-off and those of working age with lifelong conditions, he said. DHSC ministers haven't properly worked with the sector or MPs to explain their thinking or decisions. The chair of the Treasury Select Committee said he had real concerns about the way the change had been made and said no geographical assessments have been made. As anger mounted in Westminster Downing Street, and the business minister Paul Scully repeatedly refused to guarantee that no one will need to sell their home in order to pay for care. People will have to sell their homes to pay for care. And if you think about it, what these people probably voted for Boris Johnson in 2019. And then these people will be sent off to care homes. If you're in a care home, you're not going to vote. You're less likely to vote. So it isn't really a problem for the Conservatives. Because it's you would think, why would they punish the elderly? The elderly normally vote for them. But these are elderly people who normally won't vote anymore. So it's not really a punishment for the Conservatives. That's the sad thing about this. They're throwing people who supported them in 2019, they're throwing these people under a bus today, knowing that most of these people will not be able to exact some sort of revenge against the Conservative Party because these people will be in care homes. What it does affect is, and the people who should be angry, is their children. Because if these homes are sold, many of these children were probably hoping that they would take over the home. They would inherit those homes when their parents died. That's not going to happen now. So the asset that you had, you can't get on the property ladder because houses are too expensive. You're living in rented accommodation, and your hope maybe was that your parent or grandparent who had a flat or a house. We're not talking about mansions here. The mansions will be protected. We're talking about maybe council houses. We're talking about flats. We're talking about accommodation that people. We're talking about the poorer people. We're not talking about the poorest of society. We're talking about people who bought a home maybe in the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s when prices were much lower. And those house prices have gone up. Yes, they have benefited from that. And many of their children were probably hoping to inherit these properties because they can't buy properties themselves. And this has been taken away from them. Some people will say, well, there's no real victim here because, if you're in a rented accommodation, you're just going to continue. No, this is This is the government, if social care has to be paid for, then why don't the rich pay the most of it? Why don't the people who can afford to take the hit take the hit? Of course they don't, because these are people who are donors to the Conservative Party. These are people who are involved with the Conservative Party, who raise money for the Conservative Party, who have connections to the Conservative Party. So they're going to be protected. It's everyone else who won't. Margaret Thatcher gave away all of Britain's social housing. Yes. This idea that, we're going to allow people to buy their homes, and then this drove up prices. Link the threshold to local council tax banned. Good idea. Middle class bought all the council houses. And now there's no social housing available. Or no quality, I should say. No quality social housing available. It's true that Scotland has not been harmed by the egregious bill passed last night by a 26 majority vote. No, Scotland is different. Scotland is not affected by... So, social care is a devolved power. And the Scots on the stream will correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, it's a devolved power. So it's not... the Scottish people and the Welsh, I think, as well, are not affected by this. It's health is devolved. Thanks so much, Killer. So it's the Welsh and the Scots, as far as I know. Scots certainly, Welsh I'm pretty sure as well. Yeah, because there's the health service is also in England as well, England and Wales. So I'm not sure how Wales comes. I don't know if health has been devolved to Wales, but definitely to Scotland. Social housing is very difficult to get here too. We need a new way of looking at social housing. Gunny 1972, hello humans. Hello Gunny. In the comments, Damien Green said that the government would publish an impact assessment. The former cabinet minister has said he abstained on the vote, said later it was unclear whether the alteration to the cap for care costs is fair. He told BBC Newsnight the party wants to see a proper, fair solution to social care that is fair around the country and in all areas of the country. No, they do not. And to put it as politely as I can, it's not yet clear that this solution achieves that. In a very polite way, yes. Basically, it's a disaster and it's going to harm the poorest the most. But then we're Tories. This is something, I look at members of the Conservative Party who will look on in horror at what their party is doing. And they will say, yeah, but I'm still going to be a Tory. Like, how many Tories have Peppa Pig? Good to see you on the stream. Haven't seen him. Do you maybe you have a giant, massive fridge in Peppa Pig world that you can keep Johnson in? Great to see you on the stream, Peppa Pig. Hope you're well. Haven't seen him. Oh my god. We always have special guests on the stream, even though they haven't announced themselves beforehand. Oh my god. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah, it's just it says here from the Mirror, all 19 Tory rebels who oppose Boris Johnson's 900 million raid on social care. Just 19. Carol, thanks so much for that super chat. Eileen Foster. Eileen was giving out today about the shadow Home Secretary saying that she wouldn't look to influence the unification vote should MPs in Britain stay out of it. So I saw that as well, Cahill, and that was a stupid comment by Eileen Foster. But then Eileen Foster was a member of the DUP, and the DUP are against the Good Friday Agreement. Now, I think, if my memory is correct, Eileen Foster used to be a member of the UUP, and the UUP were supportive of the Good Friday Agreement. So I don't know where Eileen Foster stands, if she still believes that the Good Friday Agreement should stand, or she's against it because she was a member of the DUP. But her party, the DUP, was against the Good Friday Agreement. And in the Good Friday Agreement, there is the call for a border poll if the situation changes in Northern Ireland where there's a majority of people who would be willing to vote to have a united Ireland, or at least to change the constitutional status of Northern Ireland. But under the agreement, under the Good Friday Agreement, the British government is not supposed to interfere. That's the requirement. The Irish government is not supposed to interfere either. So interfering by promoting the union. They're not. It's meant to be as transparent as possible and as objective as possible. Not some sort of Brexit rerun or something like that. No, it's meant to be clear and open and not influenced by the British government. Because the British government are in charge in Northern Ireland. So you would have the levers of government being biased in a vote that is meant to be open. So, it's like, you can imagine if the US government, now it's different for the president because the president, yes, is head of the government, but can you imagine if during a referendum, it's not the same type of vote. This would be a referendum. Look, under the Good Friday Agreement, the UK government is supposed to be neutral. That's it. Now, politicians have said different things in the past. That's different. Politicians can say things, but when the vote would be taking place, the government should be neutral. And if the Labour Party was in power, they should be neutral. If the Conservative Party is in power, when a vote takes place on a border poll, they should be neutral. That's a requirement of the Good Friday Agreement. What politicians say either side of that is not, I don't know whether we should actually read too much into that. Because politicians obviously say lots of things, and then when push comes to shove, they will say something else. So I think it's a bit of a storm in a teacup here. Because Keir Starmer was asked about this, whether he would support the union, and he was a bit iffy about it. He was saying, yeah, well, I would support the union. And I corrected him at the time, I remember. I said, no, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be neutral. If you are Prime Minister, you're supposed to be neutral. And when the shadow Northern Ireland Secretary was asked about this today, she's supposed to be neutral. So Arlene Foster either doesn't understand the Northern Ireland Protocol, the Good Friday Agreement, or she's pretending not to. And I think it's probably the latter. But then she is from the DUP, so of course she would ignore reality. The decision on when to hold the vote is the decision of the Northern Ireland Secretary per the Good Friday Agreement. Yes, the Northern Ireland Secretary must hold a poll when the situation is likely to change. So when there's and that could happen, and they're not going to stand in the way of. I hope they're not, but this is different to Scotland. Northern Ireland is very different to Scotland, and I think the Tories would be very happy to see the back of Northern Ireland. Whatever they say in public about, the union and about Northern Ireland's place, it's all a pile of crap. They would prefer to get rid of Northern Ireland. It's less of a problem for them. They're maintaining this position when it comes to Northern Ireland Protocol because they want to use it as a bargaining chip. They want to use it as a sword of Damocles over the head of the European Union and Ireland. But as soon as that disappears, I can see when it comes to when Northern Ireland is no longer useful for Boris Johnson or the Tories, they'll jettison it. I can guarantee it, 100%. There'll be no more. And we've seen it with the Brexiteers when it came to protecting the union or Brexit. The Brexiteers chose Brexit on every occasion. The union or Brexit. Maintaining the union with Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland or Brexit. It's always been that. There was even a Tory MP, when she was asked about Northern Ireland, she said it on the TV. She said it on TV, live TV. She said, "Northern Ireland is hundreds of miles away. My constituents voted for Brexit. I have to respect that." So it basically, I don't give a crap about Northern Ireland. My constituents don't give a crap about Northern Ireland. So we want our Brexit. And there you had it. Max, the Tories can depend on 8 seats every time. I don't know how long that will go on. Because, and I really wish, this is a side issue, but I really wish that Sinn Féin would take their seats in the House of Commons. Because, you know, some of the votes that took place over the last number of years, they were on a knife edge. And if Sinn Féin had taken their seats, I understand the reason why they don't. I fully understand why they don't take their seats, and you have to admire them to a certain extent when they say, you know, when Sinn Féin say we're not taking our seats out of principle. You know, why didn't the Brexiteers like Nigel Farage boycott the European Parliament out of principle? Why don't Eurosceptics around Europe boycott the European Parliament out of principle? No, they want to bring it down from within. They don't boycott it, saying, look, we're a Eurosceptic party, we don't believe in the European Union, so we're going to boycott it. They don't do that. But Sinn Féin boycott the Westminster Parliament. And I don't think they receive any salaries. They claim expenses because they have offices there, which is normal, which is okay, but I don't think they claim a salary. Or if they do, they give it to, I don't know what. Except they have enough money to leave. Bit of a strange situation. Only call a referendum when you're sure you won't win. But I suppose the Good Friday Agreement has a lot of particularities. Yeah, then like it's not so much that you won't win. It's a requirement of the Good Friday Agreement. So both sides have signed up to it. So it's not like you call it because you're going to lose. You're supposed to call it out of obligation. You're supposed to be neutral here. They should never bow or knee to the Queen of England. No, I understand they shouldn't, but that's a thorny issue. Is should you try to do the best for your constituents and just take the knee? Because it's taking the knee. See, this is for me. If I take the knee and I don't mean it, then it doesn't mean anything. But if I take the knee and do mean it, it's completely different. Like Nigel, for example, Jacob Rees-Mogg takes the knee. Do you think Jacob Rees-Mogg cares about the Queen? Do you think he's loyal to the Queen? No, he's loyal to his friends in the Cayman Islands. He's loyal to himself. So taking the knee doesn't really mean anything. It's symbolism. Yes, I understand if the constituents saw them taking the knee back home, they say, you're hypocrites, how can you fight against something and then take the knee? But if you don't mean it, maybe I'm just too cynical. Never take the knee. What if you said you broke your back and you had to arrive in a wheelchair? You couldn't take the knee then. So look, I can't. I hurt my back and I can't walk there. Then I can't take the knee. So Sinn Féin could should arrive, with bad backs or unable with bad knees or something like that, and say that they can't take the knee. But they could still be sworn in. But then they'd have to say something. They'd have to. Was it? Say that they're loyal to the Queen or something. But obviously I don't agree with bowing or kneeling to anyone. The Queen is just a person. She's not some sort of deity, okay? She does exactly what everyone else does, okay? Probably even worse. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Jacob Rees-Mogg is a Catholic. Of course he isn't loyal to the Queen. Well, he lied to her. Sinn Féin have never lied to the Queen. That's one thing. Never take the wheel. Night Raven is on a bit of is on a bit of a roll tonight. Mog is a papist sleeper agent trying to reunify Ireland. Yeah, probably actually. Sinn Féin saying that their people wouldn't vote for them if they took their seats in Westminster. Plus, imagine if Sinn Féin had decided Brexit. Yeah, that's maybe a very good point. If the vote came down to, what was it, Sinn Féin have 2 seats in the House of... I don't remember how many seats they have because I've never seen them there. I think they have 2 or 3 seats. Can you imagine if it came down to like 3 votes? Oh, that would have been difficult. But they could have undone Brexit and ironically saved the Union. The way I think Sinn Féin are sitting this one out, they're playing the long game here. They're watching the DUP tear themselves apart. They're watching Boris Johnson throw the DUP and unionists, unfortunately, many unionists, under a bus for Brexit. And they're letting it all fester. And they know that the DUP are desperate. They're trying to bring down the protocol. They know that they're not going to bring down the protocol because if Boris Johnson truly cared about getting rid of the protocol, he would have gotten rid of it ages ago. They're desperate. They're hoping that he will, and they know that he won't. That's the worst thing is, it's like that, it's like you're relying on that friend of yours, you're getting married, and you have your friend who's supposed the best man, who has the ring, and he's probably lost the ring, and you're hoping because he's completely unreliable, and you're like, why the hell did I ask this guy to be my best man? And he's unreliable, and he's probably lost the ring down the drain, or he flushed it down the toilet while he was drunk or something like that, and you're hoping, you're pleading with God that he will have the ring and he will not have flushed it down the toilet or whatever. And this is what I think the DUP think or feel when they look at Boris Johnson, hoping that he will he'll be their savior, and they know deep down that no, he's flushed down the toilet. And he arrives in the church, and you can see the expression on his face. He's like shaking his head. and the DUP are looking at Boris Johnson, and Boris is like, no, I'm not going to get rid of the protocol. Sorry. Can't. It's too bad for me. I'm going to just come over here, bend over, and I'll push you under the bus once again. Like I did before. Yes, Max, Irish Republicans just have to wait. The best man did you a favour. Yes, Sinn Féin are quiet enough on Brexit, playing the long or now medium-term game. Yeah, what's the old expression? Don't interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. So I think that's what Sinn Féin are doing with the DUP. Northern Ireland is hoping the UK is not like that hillbilly guy in Father Ted. I'm not sure of the reference there, which I know that was the guy with the I Shot JR t-shirt. I want one of those t-shirts, but then it's a bit out of date at this stage. People wouldn't remember the reference. Only older people would. The DUP could find a worthy best man in Gollum when it comes to their ring. The DUP, pessimism of the intellect, optimism of the will. The buses are getting burnt. Use a horse carriage. Oh my God, yes. Anyway, I shot JR. Let's move on. I want to move on to the next topic here, which is Priti Patel. Oh my God. So Priti Patel under immense pressure from number 10 over channel crossings. Who would have thought? Who would have thunk it? So Priti Patel is being put under immense pressure from Downing Street and Conservative MPs over government efforts to halt channel crossings in small boats, with number 10 refusing to say the Home Secretary has done a good job. Yeah, because they can't say that she's done a good job if the numbers are increasing. As figures revealed, a number of people making perilous crossings has tripled since 2020. Boris Johnson's spokesperson twice declined to praise Patel's strategy on Monday. He said the Prime Minister had confidence in the Home Secretary, but would only say that she worked extremely hard and no one can doubt this is a priority for her. Because the ironic thing about Brexit is many people were told by people smugglers, if you get into the UK now, they won't be able to get rid of you. They won't be able to deport you because of Brexit. Because where will they deport you to? Before, they would deport you back to France. But they can't do that now because France is saying, we're not working with you. So they're threatening to deport people to Albania, for example. But that's not going to fly. Nucky Brat, thanks so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. Wow, very kind. Imagine Starmer went full Johnson style and started stuttering about Peppa Pig. I actually, and I said this before, I think Keir Starmer needs to drop a few F-bombs. Just to grab the attention. I know it shouldn't be a sort of who gets the most attention. But I think he's not well known yet. He's not like Tony Blair. Someone who is able to grab the attention. Starmer needs to do something to grab the attention. Now, when I say drop a few F-bombs, maybe I'm being a bit hyperbolic, or not hyperbolic, but maybe I'm exaggerating a bit here. But he needs to do something. Punch someone on the street. I don't know. Do something. He has to do something to attract the attention of the public, because so many people don't know who he is. Really. We know who he is because we follow these things. But the majority of people in the UK don't know who he is. They know who Boris Johnson is because Boris Johnson's on TV all the time. Boris Johnson is attracting attention, positive or negative. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as bad publicity when it comes to Boris Johnson. And he's made of Teflon as well. David McGuinness, thanks so much for that super chat. Very kind. Hope you're well tonight, David. Great to see you on. Starmer needs to do something. Max, this is exactly what it's about: grabbing people's attention. There used to be a time when we cared about politicians. We wanted them to be professional, to have perfect hair, to dress well, things like this. That day is gone. Look at what happened. Trump broke the mold here. If you look at all of the politicians right up to the time of Trump, the previous Republican, Mitt Romney, it was like he was 3D printed in some sort of political factory or something. He was, if you typed in politician at images, Mitt Romney was what would come out. If you looked at politician in the dictionary, that's what Mitt Romney looked like. And then one before that, Barack Obama was a typical sort of politician. Speaks well, went to, was at Harvard. He ticked all the boxes. Wasn't rough around the edges or anything like that. Before that, okay, Bush, not so great. I don't think Bush broke the mold, but he came from a political background. If Bush had come from nowhere, I don't think he would have succeeded. And of course he was getting in on his father's name. Of course, if Bush had, as I said, come from nowhere, he wouldn't have won in 2000, or lost in 2000, I should say. But Clinton before that, Bush Senior before that, even Ronald Reagan before that. But Trump sort of broke the mold. Trump was the idiot. Trump was the buffoon, and Johnson as well. And we need to grab attention. You need to grab the attention of the public. That's why I think Starmer should do something. It doesn't have to be something good, but it has to be something authentic. It can't be something invented. It can't be something orchestrated. He needs to drop a few F-bombs. For fuck's sake, Boris, or something like that. Can you imagine if Keir Starmer had said that? For fuck's sake, Boris, what the hell are you doing? That would be on the front page of The Sun, of the Daily Mail, of the Express, or whatever. And people would be reading about it. What did he say? Let's see the clip. The clip would go viral. I can guarantee it. Now, people would say, well, that would damage his reputation. What frigging reputation? People don't know who he is. Half the country don't know who he is. They would know tomorrow who Keir Starmer was. They'd be reading about Keir Starmer, finding out more about him. Drop a pepper bomb. I don't know. Please tell me in the comments if you agree with me. There would be a risk involved. But the bigger risk is doing nothing. Because the public aren't going to vote for somebody they don't know or they've never heard of. Ton, thanks so much for that super chat. They could get rid of the Romanians, but people from their own Commonwealth, no way. They are their people, like it or not. This idea that, one of the things they were saying, many people who voted for Brexit, and I'm not criticizing everyone who voted for Brexit, of course not. Many people voted because they believed the lies. They thought that it would make things better. They were convinced that the country was going down the toilet, not in response to immigration, but like economically, or that the European Union was too oppressive. And they were convinced by the silver-tongued charlatans. And many people voted and realized it was a mistake. And I commend people who have turned around and said, no, it was a mistake. I was wrong. Because it takes guts. It takes courage to admit that you were wrong. So I'm not talking about those people. But there were a lot of people who voted to keep the foreigners out because they didn't like going down to the local Tesco and hearing voices that or hearing languages they didn't understand. And some of the people, this is insane, but some of the people voted to get rid of these people because they thought they were being talked about. So when they went into a supermarket and there was somebody speaking another language, maybe to their child or to their friend or whatever, for many people they became paranoid and they said, these people are probably talking about me. And if they were laughing, oh, well, then they're laughing at me in some way, and we need to get rid of these people. We need to send them back home. Some of the people who voted for Brexit were like, we don't want all these Pakistanis or Indian people coming here. They obviously didn't know that leaving the European Union would have no impact on people coming from the Commonwealth. But these were people who had no understanding of Brexit, no understanding of the world, actually. Thanks, Tontons, for that super chat. It's just such a disaster. Brexit has been just such a frigging disaster. Wayne, thanks so much for that. Max, can you buy I Shot JR t-shirt on? You can buy a I Shot JR t-shirt on eBay. I want one of those. I'm going to have a look on eBay about one of those. Oh my god, I Shot JR. So many people wouldn't understand, but so many older people would. I'm putting myself into that camp. Because it was from what was it, Dallas? Yes, where JR was shot. Then he survived, or he died. I don't remember. The character died, or he survived. I don't remember. Bush did Harvard. That sounds a lot worse than it does. Jimmy Who Carter. Do a fire breathing display before asking question number 6. Dude, Bush held the children's reading book upside down. Where they informed him of 9/11, for God's sake. Yes, good point. Bush Jr. was sailing on his grandpa's name. Prescott Bush was in the Senate in the 1940s making deals with Hitler. No BBC4 for you. Not sure what that's about. Anyway, let's move on. So it goes on to say about, so the figures show that, so she's working extremely hard. The government has repeatedly promised to make such crossings unviable and pledged tens of millions of pounds to France to help tackle the issue. But more than 25,000 people have made the journeys this year. The Home Office confirmed that last week the number of refugees who had to be rescued reached 1,131 on a single day, the second highest daily figure since the crisis began in 2019. The Home Secretary has mooted various solutions, including the controversial offshoring policy. So this would be to send people to other countries to be processed, which I don't think is legal. Australia is doing this at the moment. I think there are some other countries doing it as well, and it's been deeply criticized by organizations such as Amnesty International, because people are being processed in another country when they are supposed to be in your country to be processed, and you have no control over that. And in many cases, the country that sent the people there doesn't care about how they're treated. So the people can be abused. They have their human rights taken away from them. They're not respected, and the country who's responsible for these people does not care, does not get involved. And these people are the responsibility of the United Kingdom, the UK government, but they're being processed in another country. Johnson has now given Steve Barclay, the Cabinet Office Minister, responsibility for cross-government review. One Tory MP said Johnson faced more anger from colleagues about small boat crossings when he addressed the 1922 committee last week over the handling of the Cerise scandal. Because this is a red button issue, it's a red meat to the base issue for the Conservatives. And they're afraid, and I said this before, they're afraid of people like Farage. They're afraid that Farage will start another party, another UKIP type party, the anti-immigration party or something, or the dinghies party or something like that, and he'll siphon votes away from the Conservatives when they're losing support to the likes of the Labour Party. They don't want the vote split, and I think many Tories are concerned that they're not appearing tough enough, they're not doing enough to stop this. It's not so much that they're not doing enough, but they're seen to be not doing anything. The Tories could fix this problem if they wanted, but they don't want to, because they want to maintain this as a vote winner. Because if you're a racist and you have somebody telling you, look at all these immigrants coming across the sea, vote for me and I'll stop them. You're not going to vote for the guy who says, look, maybe these people have a reason to be here. Maybe they're claiming asylum. No, if you're a racist, you're not going to vote for them. But the racists need a reason to come out, because the Conservatives can't just say, well, there's nothing we can do about it. The racists aren't going to come out and vote for you if you say that. So you have to appear tough. The Republicans do it in the US all the time. Do you remember the caravan? The caravan that was coming up from Central America. Fox News was talking about it daily until it became no longer an issue. And the public went along with it. The public were desperate about this caravan. And then as soon as the election was over, the midterms were over, the story of the caravan disappeared. And the public were too gullible to actually question, well, why aren't they talking about the caravan anymore? It reminded me of the type of issues that were brought. I remember the very first case of this. This was, and American people would probably remember this. It was John Kerry in 2004. When John Kerry was running against George W. Bush, there was an organization called the Swift Boat Veterans for Truth. And John Kerry was a swift boat veteran. He was in Vietnam, Vietnam veteran. And he was a swift boat operator, so these types of boats that went across these marshes. And the Republicans had set up a so-called grassroots movement to undermine him, to criticize him, to call him a traitor and a coward. And they were talking about these Swift boat veterans all the time on Fox News, and they were interviewing them and everything. And as soon as the election was over, these people disappeared. Strange, isn't it? And the Conservatives are the same. So they'll talk about how it's important we need to deal with this, and as soon as an election is over, this policy will be forgotten about. But they need something to convince the public to be angry. The racists need to be convinced that the Conservatives are on their side, and many of the racists within the Conservative Party understand that there's a risk that someone else may steal their thunder, and they're concerned about Farage and others like him. Supporters of Patel said that they did not recognise claims that she had been targeted by Downing Street, and insisted her team is very supportive of Barclay's task force. The only real plan on the table is a new plan for immigration, the source said. The source also hit back at MPs who claimed she should step down, accusing them of sniping without coming up with alternative policies. I've seen lots of sniping from the sidelines, but no real solutions from anyone else other than the Home Secretary, the Home Office source said. It's understood that Whitehall staff have been told Barclay has been brought to examine why Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office has yet to move forward with agreements with other countries to let new arrivals be returned immediately. The Ministry for Housing, Accommodation and Local Government set to ask to help find accommodation, while Ministry of Defence will be asked to use barracks to house asylum seekers. In the Commons, several Tory MPs pushed for progress on Australian-style offshore processing centres, in which migrants would be flown within 7 days of arriving in the UK. Richard Holden, MP for North West Durham, said, "We must adopt an Australian approach to stopping these small boats in the channel. Offshore processing, towing them back, whatever it takes to secure our borders and stop the awful human trafficking." These people are... I have to be careful what I say. These people don't care about the human trafficking. If they cared about human trafficking, they would make sure that anyone who's wanting to come to the UK can claim asylum through a safe channel. But they don't want that because they need to keep the racists happy. You don't create a channel where people can come in and claim asylum, because then the racists will be angry. Look at all these people coming in and we're not checking them, we're not stopping them. Why aren't we stopping them? Because we want them to come in through safe channels so they don't come across the sea. No, you have to force them to come across the sea so it's visual, and then you can be seen as attacking the problem, dealing with the problem. Tough. Sending out the Navy, wave machines, nets, jet skis, mining the channel or something. Everything. Cannon. You could use cannon for mortars from the cliffs of Moher. Moher, not Moher. Ireland is cliffs of Dover. Sorry about that. There aren't many people coming in over the cliffs of Moher. The Swift boat of Kerry is typical of the GOP dirty tricks. There's an investigation of the GOP state candidates for funding a straw politician to divide Florida Democrats. They do whatever they can. Oh, we're almost at the end of the stream, so I better hurry up. And our old friend Sir Edward Lee, a veteran Conservative backbencher, told Patel that the government has lost control of the number of people crossing the channel and described the situation as a national emergency. It's not a national emergency. The number of people who have made the journey across the English Channel in small boats this year is now 3 times the total of the whole of 2020. At least 886 people arrived in the UK on Saturday, bringing the total. See, the problem is you can't send people back because you created all these problems because of Brexit. You've destroyed the relationship you've had with France. And they don't want to spend the resources to actually process people. So it's becoming more and more difficult to process people. And then because of Brexit as well, more and more people are arriving because they know that they can't be deported. Now is the time to arrive. That's what the people smugglers are telling them. So will Priti Patel be removed? I have a feeling yes, she will be removed, because Boris Johnson is not supporting her in the way that would be necessary. So I think Priti Patel will be removed. But replaced by, she will be replaced with whom? I have no idea who is going to replace Priti Patel. It would have to be somebody even more extreme. Who is more extreme than Priti Patel? Mark Francois? Maybe he could dress in a uniform while he, although I don't think Mark Francois is going to be Home Secretary. It would have to, guys, in the comments, in the chat, can you tell me who you think? Yeah, let's invade France. Who do you think would make, or not who would make a good Home Secretary, who would replace Priti Patel? Because it would have to be somebody even more extreme. Because if you choose somebody who's a light touch, the Brexiteers and the racists will not be happy. So it would have to, Thatcher's ghost. Gove? I don't know. Political X, good to see on the stream. Patel is popular with the backbenchers, yes. So it would have to be somebody. Hancock, no. Farage is returning to frontline politics. I saw that as well, David, yes. I think it's a threat, but it's maybe he's testing the water to see how people react. Paul Scully, he would last 10 minutes and then he'd be replaced as well. Darth Vader. Ian Ishop, no. Yeah, it's a brown shirt. Yeah, Micah Fabricant. Zombies, Enoch Powell. Satan. No, Miracle in leather and lace. The Sen Admiral Captain Prince Andrew. Nigel Farage. Jimmy Savile. So Desmond Swain. I don't know if Desmond Swain is a racist. He's a COVIDiot, yes, but I don't know if he's a racist. And he's taken a bit of a back seat recently. Boja will not get rid of Patel. She's worth too much. But he's not defending her. He's not saying I have full confidence in her. Unless he's playing some sort of political game as well, seeing how long she can last. Stalin. Actually, Desmond Swain might be a good bet. We'll have to keep Rob. He's fantastic. Jeff Taylor for Home Secretary. Protocol. Jordan, the Riddler. Okay, very good, guys. Sir Ron Venti, yes. Just because. Yeah, Sir Ron Venti would make a great Home Secretary. He has the Brexit mojo. So, guys, I want to show you... where is it? So just so you know, Downing Street commandeered transport for Tory ministers who were quaffing champagne with billionaires at the Conservative Winter Ball, which enabled them to get to Parliament in time to vote through a policy that would force poorer voters to sell their homes for social care. So yes, the Tories were at, somebody I think paid £35,000 to have dinner with, who was it? I don't remember. One of the Tory ministers. £35,000. And I think it was £10,000 to have dinner with Liz Truss. She's not as valuable. I don't remember who it was. £35,000 to have dinner with one of the Tory MPs. Don't know if it says it here. No. Anyway. Moving on. So just about this vote that took place yesterday. I'll show you this video.
Visiting a care home in September when he announced his health and social care levy, the Prime Minister was today fighting off attacks from his own party over a tightening of the rules on the cap. Some Tory MPs say the new plan disadvantages the less well off because it'll take them longer to reach the cap. Any help they get with bills won't count towards their total spend. It's designed to save the government money, but it could be costing them support.
There was a change this week that is causing some concerns and raising additional questions about how that impacts on different groups of people around the country. So I've got quite a lot of work to do. I need to go back into Parliament and speak to colleagues and listen to the debate before we make final decisions. I'm not opposed to voting against it.
Under the changes to the original plan system, someone with an average priced London home worth £500,000 would need to pay the full cost of residential care, which could be £700 a week. After more than 2 years of paying those costs, they'd reached the cap, leaving them more than 80% of their house asset intact, more than £400,000 to pass on. Someone in the northeast with a home at the much lower average house price there, around £150,000, would, under the government's new scheme, be paying their contribution to residential care costs for just over 4 years before they reach the cap and don't have to spend more. They'll have less than half of their house asset value left, around £67,000.
Wealthier people will reach the cap at exactly the time that we thought they would have done, but less well-off people who've had help from the means-tested system as they move towards the cap won't have that help counted towards the cap, and so they're going to meet the cap much later than their better-off counterparts. And that means for those with assets of less than £100,000, say, they're never going to hit the cap. The cap doesn't help them at all, and that means that we're not protecting them from the risk of catastrophic costs.
Catastrophic costs. Once again, the Tories looking out for their own.
These are incredibly generous, and they're much better than the existing system. Because under the existing system, nobody gets any support if they have assets of £23,000 or more. Now you get support if you have £100,000 or less.
Earlier, the man the Prime Minister beat to the Tory leadership told a conference now was not the time to vote against the changes, but they were a stingy move.
It is very disappointing that the way the cap is going to be calculated is going to be changed, which means that it's going to be a less progressive measure than was hoped for and will help fewer people with lower asset levels than have been previously hoped for. And that is a really big disappointment.
On the streets of Bolton today, some signs that view was spreading wider.
If I lose 80% of my house, let's say, I would hope they'll take 80% if somebody's got loads of money if it helps the social care system.
No, they won't.
We're not treated right up at north here than to south.
When it comes to the north-south divide, it just kind of exacerbates that problem. It just looks as though that's the way it's going, that the government doesn't care about the north.
The Prime Minister's defending his social care reforms straight after a series of clashes with some in his party on sleaze and rail upgrades. And he's finding it harder to command loyalty as his judgment is under attack.
So let's get the latest now from Gary in Westminster.
Well, you remember we were talking at the height of the sleaze controversy just a few short weeks ago, how some Tory MPs were going around saying, well, actually, in future, when it comes to a vote here, I'm going to take my own counsel. I'm not going to listen to the whips. Well, tonight, we're seeing that in play. An awful lot of whips are complaining that MPs who are in their charge, their ward, they're playing their cards close to their chest, not necessarily telling the whips candidly what they intend to do. The government's hope is still that they're looking at many more abstentions than they are actual votes against the measure when it comes to a vote here expected around 10 o'clock. But nonetheless, there's a real jumpiness around the place. And something else has added to all of that, and that is Boris Johnson's performance today. You're going to see a bit more of it in Paul McNamara's report coming up. Boris Johnson made a fantastic connection, many MPs in there feel, with a huge chunk of their electorate. They see him as a very successful performer politician. Today, they felt they saw, and they were WhatsApping it to each other, all talking about it in there a moment ago when I was in there, they thought they saw a politician who's whose low battery light was flashing, and that really worries them.
Boris Johnson's low battery light. So Boris Johnson is running out of steam. And I think, and I've said this before, Boris Johnson will be brought down by his own MPs. It will not be the opposition. It will not be some sort of scandal. It will be his own MPs. They will turn on him. It's only them that can bring him down. And if there's pressure applied, I've said this, I've talked about this about a year ago. I said if pressure is applied to his MPs, probably those in the north, they're the ones who get him kicked out. They'll force some sort of change. If they are putting pressure on the party and they're putting pressure on him, something will break. And if the party decide we're under too much pressure from our own MPs, our MPs are bending, but some of them are going to break. And if there's add to the mix a few by-elections where MPs believed they were going to win and they were replaced with Labour or Lib Dems or Greens or Independents or anyone else, if that happens, the party will say, okay, we need to take stock. Boris Johnson is a liability. He has to go. So it's going to be a case of members of parliament putting pressure on the party itself, saying, because imagine if you're an MP, you've come in, you won a majority for the party. Let's ignore whether it was get Brexit done or whatever, but you're holding on to a majority. And that majority disappears. You've been thrown under a bus. You have already warned the party, look, there's some Boris Johnson and others are destroying the party. We're in serious trouble. You lose your seat. The party will decide we have to protect ourselves. And if Boris Johnson is a liability, out he goes. They don't care. They didn't care about Theresa May. They got rid of her. So that's probably what will happen. So perhaps there'll be some sort of scandal. Something will break. Something will be unpopular with the public. It's, over 140,000 dead people hasn't been enough to turn the party off Johnson. It's only when pressure is applied to his MPs, when the majority is weakened, and there's pressure on those MPs, and those MPs are putting pressure on the party, then he will go. Only at that stage. So guys, we're just over the 2 hours, so over the time for the live stream tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time, same bat time, same bat channel. But before we finish, of course, we have our one for the road. So I want to say thanks to everyone who came on tonight. Big thank you to everyone who sent a super chat as well. Greatly appreciated as always, guys. Thanks so much for all of those. Thanks to everyone who sent a comment, and thanks, of course, to the moderators for doing a wonderful job. So before we finish, we have our one for the road. Remember, anyone who's on Patreon, if you want to get access, if you want to support the channel, you can become a patron. You have access to Discord, and after every live stream, we have our Discord chat. So do check that out if you're on Discord, if you're on a Patreon too. But before we finish, we have our one for the road for tonight. So I'll post it up here. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody, and it's fantastic for me to be here in Tyneside. I'm the, Prime Minister. I know many of you worked very hard to provide masks and gowns and the like. I want to thank you for that, especially those of you who were Tory party donors and had no experience of making PPE. You were such an inspiration to me because I didn't have any idea what I was doing either. Who's had their booster? Put your hands up. This audience is a bit too young and thrusting, isn't it? I mean, I'm not young anymore, of course, although still thrusting. You know what I mean? We are well placed to get back to normal quicker than any comparator country. Good old herd immunity, which was never the plan. Yes, we're still bumping elbows and wearing masks. I mean, not me, obviously. It's a moral mission. I think as you get older, you get less cynical and more idealistic. Or they should try telling that to my voters. Look, electric vehicles, or EVs, might not have the soft burble of a suckling pig, or the combustion engine, or the as you zoom down the motorway, or the as you overtake an ambulance, or the neenor of the police chasing you, or the as you shoot out the back window, and the sorry, I've lost my place. Forgive me. What was I saying? Trains. We can't just keep carving our way through virgin countryside. Although enough about my 20s. We need to bring back old lines, upgrade them, do a reverse beaching, if you will. which is coincidentally the name of my favourite sexual position. We need a green revolution, for which we have set up a 10-point plan. Starting with number 5, look at new wallpaper. Number 8, do something about Dom. Number 1, leak something about Rishi. No, this is my to-do list. Where are we? Okay. Here we are. Number 1, champagne. Number 2, condoms. No, this is my shopping list. They say people want to work from home. They want to see you next Tuesday. That's actually something that Carrie says to me sometimes. I've just worked it out. Yeah. We need to focus on skills. Like how to competently read out a speech. We need fintech, ad tech, green tech, red tech, blue tech, yellow tech, orange tech, purple tech, TikTok tech, tech. Forgive me. So much tech, it's like we'll be in 15th century Mexico. Do you get it? I'm referencing Tenochtitlan, the 15th century Aztec capital of Mexico. The only explanation for that attempted joke is I was trying to win a bet. Finally, I went to Eminem's World on Leicester Square this weekend. Has anyone been? No, you must go. I loved it. Very much my kind of establishment, because it's inexplicably popular, basically pointless, and ruining a place with a great history. A bit like me. And you get to put a picture of yourself on a sweet, and I've always wanted to eat myself. My favourite sweets, of course, M&M's, apart from Peppa Pigs. I mean, Peppa Pigs. Forgive me. I think I got away with that.
Well done. So have a great week, guys. I'll see you on Friday, same bad time, same bad channel. It should be as always. Have a great week, and I'll see those of you who are on Discord after the stream tonight. Take care, and as Boris Johnson always says, stay alert. Take care, guys. Talk to you soon. Good night.